For a sponsor is another day of hopelessness. There are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Just text the word radio to 83393. Every day, a child in poverty waits for a sponsor is another day of hopelessness. There are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Just text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
If you're an alumnus of Tuskegee University, one of our historic HBCUs, you should put this date on your calendar. Saturday, September 6, 2025. That's the date when the Tuskegee football team will play their first home game at night in the program's 131-year history. Tuskegee's home field, Abbott Memorial Stadium, never had lights all those years. With the help of Alabama Power, the electricity company in the state, lights have been built at the stadium and will be ready for use this season. The first night game will be against HBCU Central State, located in Wilberforce, Ohio. Abbott Memorial Stadium has a capacity of 10,000. Tuskegee alumni from around the country should pack the stadium for this history-making football game. In this climate of attacks on diversity, Alabama Power stood up for diversity and made a valuable contribution to an HBCU football program. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say.
Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA.
Love you. Love you.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Let me begin first by thanking Turner and Dr. Cornell West for the very kind tribute that they paid to my father, the Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. I can't think of a more worthy and deserving person for the accolades that he receives at this phase of his life. I need to move right into the program, Dave, because we have a very important program. 3 of my very special guests today are Warren Ballantyne. He is an attorney, a lawyer, Rabbi Michael Rothenberg, a judge, a lawyer, and a medical doctor, Dr. Michael Jones. We've all come together to write a editorial that we have submitted to the Hill newspaper, and we will submit to a number of other outlets to make a very important point. This is going to be an amazing show. Dr. Michael Jones' medical expertise, Rabbi Michael Rothenberg, a lawyer, a judge, has very thoughtful and provocative thoughts about this entire process, and Warren Ballantyne. All of us have something in common. We needed Joe Biden's mind to be in the process of determining the future of our lives. Warren, if you would read the editorial, I'd sure appreciate that.
Jesse, thank you for having me on, and it's an honor to be able to sit up here and read this and craft this with you guys. What we wrote, I think, is to the point and powerful, and it basically says this: presidential pardons have historically been a source of both relief and controversy. While designed as a mechanism for justice and mercy, concerns arise when they appear self-serving, especially when granted by a president whose mental acuity has been questioned. President Biden's recent pardons of close associates and family members raised serious ethical and legal concerns, particularly when others were denied similar clemency. The issue at hand is not merely about the legal right to grant pardons, but whether his cognitive condition affects the integrity of such decisions. Reports citing Biden's struggles with memory lapses, confusion during public engagements, and limited unscripted interactions have led to a growing skepticism about his ability to make impartial, well-reasoned choices. If his cognitive decline has influenced these pardons, then others denied clemency or similar grounds deserve reconsideration. Throughout history, presidential pardons have been wielded with discretion, but not always fairness. For instance, President Biden denied clemency to nonviolent drug offenders, despite advocating for criminal justice reform. Meanwhile, personal allies received pardons. President Biden also, some individuals who applied for pardons citing unjust sentencing were dismissed, while relatives of President Biden, whose cases could raise potential conflicts of interest, were granted them. Also, the broader justice system has denied appeals based on procedural technicalities, while high-profile figures with political ties benefited from executive clemency. If President Biden's mental capacity is in question, Congress should consider implementing a competency review for presidential clemency decisions. Furthermore, those denied pardons should be given a second chance. A justice system built on impartiality cannot allow preferential treatment, particularly when personal ties may cloud the judgment. No one disputes the presidential pardons as constitutionally protected, but they must be fair, just, and free from undue influence. If President Biden's family, associates, and friends benefited, then justice demands that others previously denied clemency receive the same reconsideration. The integrity of our whole legal system depends on this.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 70 million Americans were waiting patiently for Joe Biden to give their lives consideration in the final minutes of his administration. We are challenging the reinstatement of all of their pardon applications and our pardon applications because the balance of our lives are indeed at stake. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, we're going to have a discussion about the president's mental acuity and whether or not he gave consideration to our lives.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again.
Our Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say.
Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There'll be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA.
Love you. Love you.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm a very special guest, Warren Ballantyne, Rabbi Michael Rothenberg, and Dr. Michael Jones. In this portion of our program, I'd like to bring forward Rabbi Michael Rothenberg, a man whom I've had the privilege of serving with while incarcerated. Rabbi Michael Rothenberg is a lawyer, a judge, and for the last 10 years, we've been working together seeking not only the forgiveness of the American people, but their pardon through the President of the United States. Rabbi Rothenberg, your comments on Warren Ballantyne's opinion editorial piece.
Well, thanks for having me, Jesse. I really appreciate it. This is such a crucially important issue. As you know, we've been fighting for this for the better part of a decade or more. And I think, interestingly, it's in the forefront now because of the way that we saw a peaceful transition of power from one administration to the other. And we saw approximately 70 million people be left behind by a president who made it a part of his party platform to advocate for criminal justice reform. But it seems that it's not actually happening. So it's one thing to talk about wanting to have criminal justice reform, but it's another thing to have the courage to actually do it. We have hundreds of thousands of people that are literally in prison right now that could use the mercy and the grace of the presidential pardon. And then there are so many millions more that are outside, people that have accepted responsibility for what they have done in their life, are trying desperately to change their life, but need the only method that exists under our constitutional system, which is the presidential pardon. You know, it's interesting as far as the scandal and the opinions about President Biden's mental acuity. To me, the real scandal is how rarely the pardon power is used. And if this is a man that wanted to express from the bottom of his heart what kind of a person he was, how he viewed other people, and especially people who got him elected to this office, people that he fought for all of his life, supposedly, then it begs the question as to what was going on during those final hours of his presidency. He was certainly clear enough to be able to give a very, very clear, thorough, well-written pardon to his son, Hunter. But what about the rest of the people? Why is that person worthy when the rest of us are not worthy? So for me, it's about how do we systematize not incarceration, but care, concern, mercy, love, and forgiveness.
You know, Michael, we make the distinction between commutation, which is when a president reduces someone's sentence. For example, Joe Biden commuted the sentence of a number of medical marijuana and marijuana selling individuals. They call them drug dealers, but I don't know if that's what we call them anymore because it's a legal product in many of the states within the union. But it still did not resolve fundamentally the issue of the fact that he even commuted their sentences. They are still felons. And so overcoming felonization requires the full, absolute, complete, and unconditional pardon of the President of the United States. Michael, thank you for your contribution. Stay with us. I want to now let Dr. Michael Jones share with us his thoughts on the president's cognitive abilities, the importance of mental acuity, and how both the prostate cancer and the idea of diminished capacity come together to affect decision. And given that our lives were at stake in a decision that he and only he could have made about our lives, what the consequences of that are. Dr. Michael Jones. Dr. Jones, you were muted.
Good afternoon, Jesse, and good afternoon to the panel and as well as the audience out there. I'm so very glad that I could have this conversation with you. So I am an internal medicine doctor. My original training was in psychiatry. Then I did internal medicine. Then I did cardiology. At each step that we go along, we're constantly, in my trainings, dealing with older octogenarians and individuals who have, quote, cognitive decline, dementia, and or Alzheimer's. And what we see with all of these things is there becomes a distinct time frame at which that person is no longer capable of making higher level executive decisions. And that's interesting because we say executive decisions in medicine, meaning decisions of paramount import, finances, what you're going to do about your health care, planning down the future, planning towards the future. All of these higher executive functions become problematic for a person with cognitive decline at some point. And that is an interesting term because we are talking about the executive of the United States. And the executive of the United States, as we know, was not fully with his faculties towards the end of his term. Now, that brings up another problem for me as a doctor and as a person and as a business owner, having to do executive things and dealing with a father who is currently, my father, currently experiencing cognitive decline. These are not things that occur slowly. These are not things that occur abruptly. These are not things that occur abruptly. Rather, they are things that occur slowly. And you can see them unfold over a matter of years. Understand me, gentlemen. Understand me, audience. years. Okay. And it's something that if it's caused by an underlying medical condition, such as prostate cancer, then testing by your doctor each year, testing by your doctor each year, looking at your overall gestalt of health, should have said, his prostate number is up, his PSA. Once his PSA goes up, there are things we need to be thinking about. That's a year ago, 2 year ago, 3 year ago marker. The PSA goes up. So now we've got that to think about. So I'm suggesting, gentlemen, audience, his doctors, his administration knew that he had an aggressive form of prostate cancer a year, 2 years ago. Okay, a year ago, 2 years ago. And maybe they had instituted some treatments to slow the process, but most of the treatments that we give will actually cause some degree of cognitive decline. Okay, we're using chemotherapy. Chemotherapy will fog the brain. It will cause cognitive decline. If he's already experiencing some degree of decline from the prostate cancer itself, now you add on the chemotherapy, there are more things that become problematic in terms of his executive and higher functions. And why were we not, as a country, why were we not allowed to know that we did not have a capable and cognizant head of our state? I think that that is really, really problematic. I have been liberal leaning and democratically voting the vast majority of my life. But I find this very, very problematic that the Democratic Party, the administration of Joe Biden, offered him up to us as another term of presidency, when as a physician, I have to think that they had to know about his mental dysfunction.
Let me comment on this, and then I want to swing the question to Warren, where we began. There's 70 million people who paid their debt to society in full. They owe America nothing else. Not one of them has the same fact pattern. My fact pattern is not the pattern of Larry Hoover. My fact pattern is not the pattern of Rabbi Michael Rothenberg, Dr. Jones, or Warren Ballentine. Every single one of us has a different fact pattern. What we have in common is we have paid our debt to society in full. We don't owe the government, we don't owe the American people anything else. We are asking for the forgiveness of the American people. And what Warren Dr. Jones just said is that it is likely that at least 3 years ago, the president of the United States did not have the cognitive ability to make a decision, not only on a case-by-case basis to pardon Warren Ballentine, to pardon Rabbi Michael Rothenberg, to pardon Dr. Michael Jones, even when considering a group of people who've paid their debt to society. These decisions in the final minutes and the final days, the final weeks, the final months of Joe Biden's presidential term were probably made by a different group of people within the government who pardoned some people, obviously Joe Biden's entire family, but then they stood in judgment of us again. They stood in judgment of us again. They're not federal judges. They are not federal juries. And they said our lives are not redeemable. Warren Ballentine.
Well, Jesse, I look at this in a lot of different prisms, right? And one of the prisms that I look at is the solution. What's the solution to all of this? How do we get to a point where this never happens again? And that's why in the op-ed I talked about having a competency exam if you're going to get presidential pardons. But I also think we need to look at this from a more bigger point of view, right? And the bigger point of view is that the whole legal system itself has an issue. And because it has an issue, and because it's such a moneymaker for so many different industries, it is hard for people to look at this and say, oh, we need to fix this. Now you have, what's amazing to me is you have people happy and screaming about Larry Hoover getting a pardon from Trump.
A commutation.
Yeah, exactly. Not a pardon, excuse me. But he's also somebody who did like so much harm in the community of Chicago. Yet you have people who have done non-violent things, people who may not even been guilty of what they get found guilty of, who they're not even entertaining or thinking about trying to help. And that's the problem. So we have to talk about this from a solution base where we have safeguards in place where this doesn't happen. I'll say this. I give Trump credit for one thing. I think it was absolutely necessary and brilliant to put somebody as a czar over the pardon office who had been pardoned themselves, because she's looking at this from a whole different prism than an attorney or somebody who has not been into this legal system. And for people who think that this legal system is fair, it's not. Lady Justice is not blind. It's just not, because the way the system is set up, you can indict somebody by just simply going to a grand jury and saying, on this day, on this time, this happened, this person was here, and it's a possibility that they did it. That is enough for a grand jury indictment. In fact, first week of law school, they tell you in criminal law, you can indict a ham sandwich, because it's that easy to get an indictment. And then people hear indictment and think the person is guilty. They think the person has committed all these horrific crimes. And the reality of it is if they're going through a grand jury, that person doesn't have the right to come in there and defend themselves. Once they get the indictment on the federal side, you can't even publicly say anything because it's called jury tampering at that point. So it is so many things in place to protect them and not protect us as individual citizens. You want to hold us accountable for everything we do under the law. Yet prosecutors have qualified immunity. They can charge any case they want to charge and don't have to worry about personally being sued or having accountability or anything like that because of the fact they have this qualified immunity. I interviewed a young man who got out of jail, out of Cook County Jail in Chicago, spent 28 years and 10 months in jail for a crime he did not commit, even to the point where the girlfriend and the mother was like, he was not the one who killed our son and boyfriend. The prosecutor and the cop had evidence to prove that this young man was innocent. They never released it. Guess what happened after 28 years? When they got asked about it, they said, my bad. That's exactly what they both said. And now this young man lost 28 years of his life, 10 months, and for nothing, he can't even go after the prosecutor who did it to him or the cop.
I am as struck about hearing that case, and I think I might know the individual that you interviewed in Chicago out of Cook County, who has championed this cause of wrongful convictions, not only in the city but across our nation, and he will be one of our guests as well in the not too distant future. I do know that when we come forward, Rabbi Michael Rothenberg and Dr. Michael Jones are going to engage this conversation. I can tell you right now, the idea that there was a shadow government making decisions over our lives and the president of the United States did not have the cognitive ability to make a decision about us, but could make decisions about his own family is deeply troubling to me. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, we'll continue this conversation.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer is reacting after President Trump said he will look at pardoning the men convicted of plotting to kidnap her in 2020.
I'm very disappointed that they're even considering it, frankly. When the president was shot at in Pennsylvania, I was one of the first people on either side of the aisle to condemn it.
She said she'll be making her thoughts known to the White House, and she hopes what she says will be taken into consideration. EA has canceled its Black Panther game and shut down Cliffhanger Games. The move shifts focus to titles like Battlefield, The Sims, and Apex Legends. EA continues work on Iron Man, Star Wars Jedi, and Mass Effect. And the original Broadway cast of Hamilton is returning for a special 10th anniversary performance at the Tony Awards. Lin-Manuel Miranda, Leslie Odom Jr., and V. Diggs will all take the stage next month. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Every day a child in poverty waits for a sponsor is another day of hopelessness. There are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Just text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
If you're an alumnus of Tuskegee University, one of our historic HBCUs, you should put this date on your calendar. Saturday, September 6, 2025. That's the date when the Tuskegee football team will play their first home game at night in the program's 131-year history. Tuskegee's home field, Abbott Memorial Stadium, never had lights all those years. With the help of Alabama Power, the electricity company in the state, lights have been built at the stadium and will be ready for use this season. The first night game will be against HBCU Central State, located in Wilberforce, Ohio. Abbott Memorial Stadium has a capacity of 10,000. Tuskegee alumni from around the country should pack the stadium for this history-making football game. In this climate of attacks on diversity, Alabama Power stood up for diversity and made a valuable contribution to an HBCU football program. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Whoa,
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Marina Del Rey turns 60, and you're invited to the party. Join us Saturday, May 31st from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Burton Chase Park for Marina Culture Jam, a free community celebration packed with music, dance, art, and fun for all ages. Experience electrifying performances by Takeo Project and Inca. Take a historic harbor tour, join the Freedom Drum Circle, and hop on a $1 water bus ride. Celebrate culture, connection, and coastline. RSVP at beaches.lacounty.gov/Marina Culture Jam.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Rabbi Michael Rothenberg I've said it over and over and over again that Joe Biden has now put the American debt paid, dues paid felon in the unenviable position of having to seek their pardon from Donald Trump. Larry Hoover and his followers are now touting Trump, not Democrats, as someone who did something no one has ever done for their leader. And the consequences of that, particularly in urban America, are extraordinary. I can think of no other groups in prison that have the influence of one Larry Hoover, and the millions of people who've cycled over these decades through the criminal justice system are very familiar with Mr. Hoover and his work. And now Donald Trump has obviously sent Larry Hoover to the state system, but he is being touted politically by those who should normally vote for us and support us. They are touting him as doing something Barack Obama didn't do, Joe Biden didn't do, Bill Clinton didn't do, that no other Democrat has ever done. There are real political consequences to what's at stake here. Rabbi?
Yes, absolutely. If you think about it like this, we would just mention the grand jury system. And don't even get me started on the grand jury system. That thing's been broken for 200 years. It's an absolute joke. It's a sham. But the founding fathers of our Constitution wrote in a protection that they couldn't have foreseen 250 years ago, that would need to be exercised by one and only person, and that person is the President of the United States. That person has the ability to have the intent and the purpose to right wrongs, to right injustices, and to forgive. And the Democratic Party and the Democratic presidents who controlled the White House for many years and controlled the Senate, controlled the House as well for many years, fumbled the football. They had an opportunity to do something historic in the annals of American history that would have marked them down as unparalleled display of compassion and mercy. And they didn't do it. And you have to wonder, when you start to hear all of these issues that have come out about cognition, it's interesting, in order to commit a crime in the United States, in almost every situation, you have to have intent. Well, you would hope that the person who is making the decision to pardon would also have intent. And if that person couldn't form intent, then effectively they have removed and nullified the power that they were given, the power of their office. And now we come to a very unique opportunity in history for President Donald Trump, who has the ability to change all of this with one stroke of his pen. He could have the courage to I applaud him for appointing the pardon czar. That was a wonderful appointment, in my opinion. I think it was very necessary. He has the ability right now to right all of these wrongs and to mark down a legacy for himself that will be unparalleled in the history of this country. He has the ability to do it. But unfortunately for us that are on this panel, and for millions and millions of Americans, more importantly, President Biden didn't seem to have the capacity to even think about us or consider us.
Dr. Jones, you said before the break and when we were in the green room that the President of the United States makes obviously decisions that are far more reaching. It's hard to imagine far more reaching than the ones that affect our lives personally, but he is President of the United States. Global decisions about war and peace, decisions about the survivability of the planet itself. Just how dangerous were these last 3 years?
In my mind, they were exceptionally dangerous. I've read the works of Noam Chomsky, and if you guys have not, he's described that there have been points in our history where we have been so close to nuclear catastrophe that we as normal citizens would not know about. There are times where the nuclear threat alert has gone up close to what they call the 11th hour, right? That's how they measure it in some way. That 12 hours, bombs are going off, right? But there have been numerous times in the history of our country where our post-nuclear country or present nuclear country that we hit the 11th hour. You could only anticipate that the war in Ukraine, the Israeli and Palestinian war or massacre, whichever way you want to look at it, that there had to be times along that path during Joe Biden's presidency where there was super heightened alert. And the notion that someone who we did not elect to office had to make those decisions on his behalf, that's kind of frightening to me. But I want to move away from that for a moment to talk about our current president, who does seem to be present in mind. I want to say something to you all that is shocking for me as a man who grew up poor, Black in the South, dealt with racism throughout my life, but managed to achieve some pretty decent things and help a lot of people in my life who went through what I thought was it made no sense that I was going to prison. It made no sense that I was indicted. None of it made any sense. But oddly enough, I was let out of prison because of the CARES Act. That's a Donald Trump policy. That was Donald Trump. It's odd enough that once I was out of prison and doing home confinement and in a halfway house as part of my home confinement, I was released from that halfway house because of the First Step Act. That is a Donald Trump policy. I am telling you all that as I sit and I think about things, and it troubles me to have to consider this in this way, but Donald Trump has done more for me as a felonized individual than any of the Democrats ever did for me, and more than Barack Obama did for any of those before me. Now, I also say that with hope, and I believe this will come to pass. With the installment of Miss Alice Johnson, and I've watched her on TV and listened to her talk, Donald Trump has given her marching orders of find individuals who, number one, were inappropriately incarcerated. Find people, number two, who were incarcerated, but their sentencing does not match the magnitude of what they did. I believe that Donald Trump has heard and understands the request we're making. I believe that he is willing to step forward in being the transformative president who actually removes the yoke of second-class citizenship and felonization for the over 70 million of us out there. I believe he is ready to do that. And if he does do that, despite what other things we may say of him and have said of him, he will write his name as one of the greatest presidents in the annals of American history.
I think there's no doubt about that. Warren, we have about 1 minute and 45 seconds before I have to come forward. Please.
I just want to touch on two things. He said something very important about how the system works where you're incarcerated and how Trump is looking at that, right? And how what happened to him was ridiculous, right? My situation was a little bit different. I didn't do any jail time at all, not one day. I got put on 3 years probation. The judge took me off in 30 days. My lawyer had early stages dementia. Nobody knew about it. When I found out about it, I took it back to the court. Judge told me too bad. I did a trial. The judge at sentencing said, if you'd have did a bench trial, I would have found you not guilty, but I'm going to stick with the jury trial. And what they don't tell you, and all of us here do know this, once you get in the federal system, they attack you with the IRS. They attack you with everybody else that they can attack you with. And they try to keep you where you're bogged down for the rest of your life. That's what they try to do. And so this is way bigger than just Trump and Biden and Obama. It is the system itself. The IRS, the bankruptcy courts, and everything else should not be working with the federal government to keep you in poverty once you get into that system.
I lost my home, foreclosure. I've lost everything that I've ever had. I have assets totaling zero. I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, we will offer a word of hope, and our hope will include some directions on where we think we need to go with Donald Trump to bring our dreams back to reality. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Now at Verizon, we have some big news for your peace of mind for all our customers, existing and new. We're locking in low prices for 3 years guaranteed on my plan and my home. That's future you peace of mind. And everyone can save on a brand new phone on my plan when you trade in any phone from one of our top brands. That's new phone peace of mind. Because at Verizon, whether you're already a customer or you're just joining us, we got you. Visit Verizon today. Price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than Saquon Barkley, the NFL's reigning leading rusher. I'm also the NFL's leading husher. Shh, hush up back there. Wow, I might have just set the hushing record. Well, almost. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. show. Dr. Rabbi Michael Rothenberg. let me first associate myself with everything that Dr. Michael Jones said, that I'm not waiting 4 years for a Democrat to get elected, and I'm not going to encourage 70 million people who don't need any more time added to their sentences to wait another 4 years and then wait for that Democrat another 4 years to even consider us at the end of their first term, knowing full well they want another term. That's 8 years before they consider our names. We are still 12 years away at this moment, away from a pardon, and all I was given was 30 months. Warren Ballentine says he didn't serve a day. Others of us have served, 3 years in this process. And so I want to be clear that in 1787, after the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth, 1787 years later, America was a new idea, a society of forgiveness. And the first 6 presidents of the United States knew exactly that there was a finger of God in the Constitution. Where is the finger of God? It's in Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1. They're reading it wrong. It's not 2 job responsibilities. It's the character traits of one person in a generation between the commander of an army and militia and a person who grants reprieves and pardons. David and Jesus. In other words, they took the function of the lineage of David out of the Constitution, and every 4 years, we're supposed to vote for somebody who has the character, the confidence, the courage to restore American life so we don't become a stale and miserable people. Rabbi Rothenberg.
Yes, and I think following up on that, if you look historically, President Lincoln granted clemency and pardons to those traitors to our country who served the Confederacy and fought for them. And in a very difficult political time back 100 and however many years ago it was.
50.
But I would just say as far as message of hope, because ultimately that's what we need right now is hope. And I would just direct this to President Trump himself. I would say to you, Mr. President, I know that you are a person of bold action by appointing a pardon czar, a wonderful appointment. And I would encourage you to continue to do that. But I would also encourage you and just leave you with this. You may have airports named after you one day. You may build a presidential library. You may have legislation named after you one day. But at the end of the day, all of us will pass on, and all of us will stand in front of the ultimate judge, and all of those things won't matter. And what is going to matter? In my faith tradition, in the Jewish faith, we believe that God doesn't ask you how many of your commandments did you follow? What did you eat? Was everything you ate proper? Did you operate well on the Sabbath? No, he doesn't ask you that. He asks you, how do you treat your fellow human being? And if you can't answer that question, that's where the idea of real repentance comes from. And Mr. President, you have a unique opportunity. You have that one power that the founders gave you to exercise forgiveness and mercy right now. And that exercise, that action will last for eternity. And I pray that God moves your heart to act now for all of us, not just the people on the panel, not just me, but everybody in the country that needs forgiveness, because there isn't a single person alive on this earth that doesn't need forgiveness and a second chance.
Dr. Michael Jones, your message to the President of the United States.
I'd like to thank President Trump for acting. I'd like to thank President Trump for acting boldly in regards to the CARES Act. I'd like to thank him for acting boldly in regards to the First Step Act. That, what I call a life now, was made possible by those 2 actions. However, I'm still not completely right side up. I cannot take care of people, save lives, do the work of a cardiologist the way that I used to do. And I need a pardon. But not only do I need a pardon, the 70 million possible pardons that could be done would literally add trillions of dollars to our economy. If those people were allowed to regain their footing and do something that allows financial benefit to this country, we could add 20% to our GDP. Just think about that alone. We could put America back on a good footing. And I ask that he consider doing that.
Warren Ballentine, counselor, radio host, author of our op-ed, your message to the President of the United States.
My message would be very simple. we want to talk about hope. And my hope would be simply that President Trump, you keep moving the way that you're moving with the czar. You keep pardoning the people that you're pardoning, giving clemency to the people that you're giving clemency to. But let's take this even a step further. Let's make something that's so sweeping and so generational that it will be remembered 1,000, 2,000, 3 years from now. My hope to you, President Trump, is to literally say, everybody who has served their time and paid their debt, you get one time in life to erase your criminal record. And if he would allow something like that to happen, this could be huge on so many different levels, because he can make it where it's a simple fee of $500, $1,000. Everybody would come up with that money some kind of way that wants their record cleaned up. So you're talking about 70 million people times $1,000. You're talking about people getting back into the workforce who are going to be paying taxes and other things like that. You got people who are going to be building homes and buying cars. So this is going to help industry. You're talking about people who want to serve the nation, so they'll be able to help the nation grow. But more importantly, when you talk about hope, hope is what makes us get up every morning and thank God, because we have that hope that something can change from what it was yesterday to what it is today. And it's that hope that keeps us fighting and keep us going, because we're hoping that the next day is going to be a little bit better, or a little bit better after that, or a little bit better after that. Put that hope back into the American people, because if you do that, President Trump, not only will you be remembered as a president for all time, you will be remembered as a generational curse breaker. And that is something that very few people can ever say they can be remembered as.
Let me just say that we pray for the opportunity to erase our personal history, but we do not want to erase the history of our country. We must have both. And in that there is glory, there is justice, and there is peace. Our nation was founded on a theological principle that one person, not a Democrat or a Republican, there was no Democrat until 1793. The country was founded in 1787. There was no Republican in 1787. That party wasn't founded until 1854 in Ripon, Wisconsin. It was founded upon a faith principle. The architects had to figure out how to place the people's faith in the Constitution. And they did that in the Republic by giving one person the power and the opportunity to function in the lineage of David for all of the people. We don't care if it's a Democrat or a Republican. And truthfully, there are more things that I disagree with Donald Trump on than the things I agree with him on. But we can work with him on the forgiveness and the restoration of American life. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. I want to thank Rabbi Michael Rothenberg, Dr. Michael Jones, and Warren Valentine for their participation. Our very special guest tomorrow is Michael Cohen. Until we come forward, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. And remember, the sky's the limit.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, team. I really appreciate you guys having up